A short story. He cradled his wife, as she lay on the road. She peered up at him, and said, "I'm scared, Anthony. I don't know what's going on." He answered, "Help is coming, sweetheart. Just hang on in there for me. I feel so tired. I'm not sure if I can stay awake," she said, frightened. "Please tell the children I love them, just in case anything happens to me." Anthony was petrified that he was going to lose her, replying, "Please stay awake, because I love you very much. I just don't know what I would do if I ever lost you." "I swear I'll always be here for you," she replied in pain. A moment later, she'd succumbed to her injuries. "Please don't leave me," he cried. From down the road, sirens were heard, but it was already too late. 3 years later. It had taken a long time to get over Emily. Anthony done his best to stay busy, while also looking after the kids. At the time of her death, the children would have been 5 and 7. Both remembered very little about her, which upset Anthony very much. The police had visited his house the other day, saying they had a new witness to the hit and run. He still remembered that day vividly. Daddy, I've made a new friend today at school," said Joshua, as he played with his action figures on the sofa. Anthony sat next to him, and replied, "That's good to hear, mate. What's the other boy's name?" Joshua looked at him confused, then said, "Her name's Ruth. She's really friendly, Daddy." Anthony laughed. "That's brilliant to hear, mate. I'm happy you're fitting in. What do you fancy for tea?" "I'm not sure, Daddy. Give me a minute to think about it," the boy answered. 10 minutes later, Anthony stood in the kitchen, preparing dinner, knowing Joshua was still in the living room, while his other son Nathan was in his bedroom, doing homework from school. On one of the shelves, near to the window, that overlooked the back garden, was a photo of the 4 of them on holiday, 6 years ago. Anthony liked to keep the photo there, so he could remember happier times. While the vegetables boiled, he picked up the photo, and kissed the image of her face. "I miss you every single day, my love," he said sadly. In the corner of his eye, he saw something in the back garden. He turned to the window, and was shocked to see someone standing a few meters from the house. A hood covered most of their face. Then he noticed with alarm, that this person's clothing was very similar to his wife's. A moment later, they'd vanished. What the hell just happened? Anthony sat down to compose himself. Who was the strange individual spying on him, or was it his imagination playing tricks? From the living room, Joshua's voice was heard saying, "Is that you, Mummy?" Anthony ran from the kitchen to the living room, and observed Joshua still on the sofa, but he was asleep. By the looks of it, he'd been dreaming. He then headed back to the kitchen to finish tea. The next day, Anthony drove to work after dropping his kids off at school. Once he'd parked the car, he got out, then walked to the huge building. A meter from the entrance, he had this feeling he was being watched. He turned, and with horror, realized the person that was in his garden yesterday was standing next to his car. "What do you want?" he shouted, while running back to the vehicle. The mysterious individual, like last time, disappeared in a flash. Not knowing what to make of this, he rang the police, thinking he was being stalked. That evening, a policeman came to the house, and took a statement. After he'd left, Anthony watched TV with Joshua and Nathan, until it was their bedtime. He ventured outside for a cigarette. Yet again, he felt like someone was there, watching him. What did this person want? He searched the area, and couldn't see anyone. From across the road, she observed him for some time. She felt his pain, of losing his wife. She had a task to fulfill, and that's all that mattered. She was there for Emily. A light appeared in front of her, and she entered it. One night, while asleep, Anthony had the most unusual dream, involving the mysterious person. In the dream, they had the most magnificent wings, while they flew through the air at great speed. It was a Saturday, and Anthony had booked tickets for him and the boys to watch a show that night. They arrived at the venue an hour before it started. He parked the car near to the arena. All 3 got out, excited. His sons had wanted to see this show for ages. Nathan ran to the queue, that had formed. "Slow down, mate," Anthony said, while he grabbed Joshua's hand and joined Nathan. Behind them, more people had turned up. At the entrance, a tall man appeared as he let people through. When it was their turn, Anthony showed him the tickets. Inside, a small crowd made their way through the doors into a bigger room where the show would begin shortly. The atmosphere was electric. Once the show had ended, everyone headed outside in an orderly fashion. It took a little while to get out of the big car park. Finally, they'd made it to the busy road in front. A few moments later, some traffic lights appeared, and Anthony decided to turn left, down a quieter road, because the one they'd come down earlier was full of traffic. Anthony needed to keep his wits about him, as he'd never drove this way before, but hopefully, it would be a quicker way home. The kids played happily in the backseat. After everything that had happened, it felt like life was finally getting back to normal. Anthony was so proud of his boys. All of a sudden, he didn't feel too good. A tightness was felt across his chest, followed by an excruciating pain. His mind spun, through fear, realizing he was having a heart attack. Anthony lost control of the vehicle, and it came off the road. "Daddy, Daddy, what's going on?" screamed Joshua, as he smacked the window, trying to get out. Joshua noticed water surrounded the car, and slowly, it seeped through the cracks in the doors. Nathan was silent, his eyes closed. The boy tried waking his dad up, but there was no response. More water made its way in, covering his trainers. "Please, please," he begged. "I'm so scared, I don't want to die." He punched the window several times, trying to escape. He was absolutely petrified. On the other side of the glass, he saw a familiar face, staring back. Even though he was very young when she died, it was his mum. With his hand, he touched the cold glass, and said, "I've missed you, Mummy." The angel smiled at him. A moment later, he'd lost all consciousness. A month later, Anthony had been discharged from hospital. The two boys now lived with Grandma for a little while, as he recovered from a heart attack and injuries caused by the accident. The one thing Anthony couldn't understand was how they escaped from the car after it had plunged into a river, then ended up on an embankment. None of them could remember anything, apart from little Joshua, saying that before he had blacked out, he'd seen Mummy. A man walking his dog had found them early the next morning, near to where the accident had happened. Straight away, he rang for an ambulance. On further investigation, the man admitted to seeing something else, which he still couldn't believe, and at the time, was too embarrassed to talk about. He observed what could only be described as an angel, as it hovered over the area, showing him where they were. The moment he had discovered them, an intense light appeared, and the magical being disappeared through it. But the thing he kept to himself was that the angel resembled his late father, who'd passed away 2 decades before. The end.